American Charger False Witness Part 2. Neo, you are the one person I can trust. Follow me. We took our private elevator to the 25th floor and went into my unit. I sat on the long white sofa, my stocking feet up on it. Neo moved toward me like a 10-year-old with loose joints barely able to avoid the furniture. Take your shoes off, I said. I told him to sit down and face me with his feet on the sofa. The bottoms of our socks touched, and now I was ready to talk. I've told you about my childhood trauma. A neighbor overpowered me when I was 5. Some folks develop dissociative identity disorder. Those are big words that don't mean much to people, I said. I swallowed. I'm talking to you about my internal family system, my internal parts. We all have them, but some mutiny against your inmost self. Each one is good, but they have agendas. What are internal parts? Neo asked. I answered. There are the exiled parts, protector parts, and manager parts. They are supposed to work in harmony. They do, in you, but not in me. The exiled parts didn't mature as I did, arise from the childhood sex abuse, carry the pain of it, feel worthless, and are frozen in time. They join together and snatch full control by unplugging me from the world, from my life. That's the derealization I walk around with all the time. Neo tapped his feet on mine and smiled one of his pretty sad grins. The protector parts guard the exiles. One is overconfidence, I said. Neo's eyes then sharpened as he gazed at his white toes. But you look fine, on the outside, he said. I continued. My strategy is to keep all the parts together, working in harmony. The exiled parts need constant affirmation of the truth and their worth. I have to love each one, not lock up this one or that one and pretend they aren't there. Neo asked, how do you do that? I looked down for a moment, trying to muster the courage to reveal the darkest secret. Neo, I listened to each of their stories. Sounds like I'm insane, doesn't it? Paul, I'm just as screwed up as you. Thanks for saying that. This is what works for me. I give each one a face. They prefer to name themselves, but I give each one a temporary name. It takes time to get to know each one, and then I dialogue with them. Neo said, they're like family, is that right? Yes, they are my internal family system, I said softly. Neo pulled me up off the sofa and put his forehead against mine. I get it, Paul, but what is the third part? I placed my hands on Neo's shoulders, looked down at our toes, and then into his face. Manager parts. They suppress and compartmentalize the exiled parts, I said. Oh, they're the enemy, he said. Yeah, sort of, I answered. Okay. Great. We know what to do, he said, let's have a drink. And a smoke, Neo. Go into my kitchen drawer, the bottom one, and get us a pack of Marlboros. I lit some votive candles on the kitchen table for light and sat down. Neo sat opposite and downed a tequila shot while I reread aloud a brief summary sent to Army Command. LK's methods are as follows. Here's how LK recruits. Our snatchers grab a minimum of 2 or 3 street orphans at a time. Once snagged, they are dragged to HQ, but before being placed on the conveyor belt, electrified restrictors are placed on the kid's arms and legs, and security guards activate the restrictors if a kid gets out of control. The restrictors have a blue ball and a red ball with a button on each. The blue ball is thrown at the child's feet and traps him in an energy prison. The red ball, a gas grenade, is thrown at the child, and it puts the mortal teardropper to sleep. I looked up from the page and said to Neo, the casual observer would think that this treatment is cruel. Neo said, we give these orphans the brothers and sisters they never had, and a sense of purpose. As we exited my unit, I said, this method has given us hundreds of recruits. At the 5th floor, Neo and I breezed down a long hallway, and I gleaned with a glance to the right that kids plugged into LK Classroom Artificial Reality were passing notes. Neo stopped, rolled his eyes, and said, complainers? We all know where that gets you. Article 4.3 states that anyone making a complaint shall be disciplined immediately and tears shall cease after 5 minutes. Neo's left arm gripped his metal arm. "What about the false accusation?" he asked. I looked at Neo and said, "What about it, and you're drooling? What's the matter with you?" I was thinking, is he drunk again? When half smashed, he turns everything into a horror movie. "I need to throw back another cold one," he said. My best friend would drink anything put in front of him, even in the face of serious charges. Or because of them. HQ's art gallery was the focus of an outside investigation, and I needed to lay out the charges before proceeding. With arms crossed, I said, "The state inspector of art galleries accused you of stuffing an indecent picture in the LK art gallery. I know pornography when I see it." Neo, visualize a happy place. No. Correction. Go to the LK chapel and fast for 1 day. I heard a rumbling sound coming from where I didn't know. I tried to focus my eyes but could not ascertain the sound source or direction. We ran outside. My mighty ego twitched simultaneously with a feeling of fear and horror at seeing a protest organizing on 15th Street 2 blocks down. The fear of returning derealization was greatest when it was nearly gone. A bullet whisked past and shattered the plate glass. Neo's training as a sniper was about to come in handy. With two 12-gauge mag-fed shotgun pistols, the SDM M870 Shorty, one strapped to each leg, he fired a round of ammunition followed by a single shot from the elbow of his metal arm. That bullet struck a target, and it lay stilled in the street. Neo's 6 feet straightened. He peered out from iron blue eyes. 180 pounds of lean mean beef smiled. He never uttered a syllable after a kill. Now that the immediate threat had been quashed, I recalled instructions received from Army Command in a letter. It told me to organize an ideological attack in the best way I could. We started with a mission statement. Neo spent the weeks before Christmas 2024 setting up our mission statement. In its final form, the weaknesses of the radical left were identified as 1. Identity politics, 2. Retrosocialism, 3. Catastrophism, and 4. Techno-pessimism. Army Command approved the mission statement, and Neo pasted it to the back of our penthouse front doors. Every time we left the units, we were reminded of our purpose for breathing.